Hey guys, it's Rena from Prairie Pioneer Schoolhouse. I hope you're all doing well this morning. I had an interesting topic come up on a Facebook group that I'm part of, and a woman was saying that she was really feeling kind of called to wear skirts. And I thought that would be such a fun topic and an interesting one to do a video about. So I wanted to come on here and share my story and how I kind of came to wearing almost always skirts. Sometimes I wear pants. When I wear jeans, I only wear jeans. I don't like any other kind of pants. But if I do, I wear them with like a long kind of flowy feminine top. And but most of the time I wear skirts. So yeah, so if this is something that you're interested in, please stick around. If this is something that you're like, I could take it or leave it, please don't feel like you have to watch it. And as always, I would love for the comments to stay kind. And again, as always, on my channel, I like to share my experience on things, and I love to hear other people's experience, but I'm never here to tell other people what to do. I just do not feel like I'm qualified for that at all. So anyway, so if you're interested, go ahead and stick around. Okay, so I'm sitting here in my room and the kids are watching shows, and I'm looking at my closet and I'm thinking about kind of what I want to talk to you guys about today. So when I was a kid, I remember watching my mom, like she would get dressed and she had all these really pretty like flowy dresses, and she wouldn't wear them all the time because she was a librarian, so sometimes she'd wear them and sometimes she'd wear pants. I remember that. But I remember whenever she dressed, it was like her dress really, everything she wore meant something. And I remember like on days when it was holidays, she always had a special pin for Valentine's Day or a little leprechaun for St. Patrick's Day. And she had like fun vests that she wore, and she had pretty dresses. And I just remember thinking my mom had a really like fun wardrobe and that clothes meant something. And so as I got older, I remember being around a lot of different people that dressed a lot of different ways. And I remember seeing grown-ups around, particularly older women, like now they're probably my age, but when I was a kid that was like older in their 30s. But I remember a lot of them wore like really short shorts and tight clothes. And I remember thinking like, I just felt like that was more like for children, I guess. I'm not saying that's what I think now. I'm just saying I remember thinking like when I saw a woman that had like a long dress, like a long skirt, or like she was really like put together, I just remember like just loving it. I loved that look that a woman had. And now I grew up in the late 80s, the early 90s, and so a lot of my makeup of ideas were kind of like from that style too, the big permed hair and the kind of the clothing of that time. But anyway, so then when I kind of got more involved in like culture and community and society and stuff, I remember my first big thing that we did was I was in 4-H and I had a rabbit. I did a 4-H like project with a rabbit, and I was exposed to a lot of girls, Baptist girls, and I think maybe some Pentecostals, and all of them had really long hair, and they wore long dresses and long skirts, and they were so sweet, and they all had skills, and they all had all these abilities. And I remember that really left an impression on me, like that their lives, they really had like this beautiful internal life, but then they expressed it externally by how they dressed and how they behaved and what they chose to do with their time. And it just really, I just loved it. And it really like kind of set a place in my heart for modesty, even though I didn't understand it really at that time. And I didn't see it really anywhere in the culture, especially in the early 2000s. That was like, it was like nowhere, at least not in my circles. But anyway, so as the years went on, whenever I was given a dress or I found a long skirt, I would always scoop it up and wear it, but I would always feel really out of place because no one else was dressing that way. And people would always say, "What are you dressed up for? Where are you going?" And I was like, "I'm not going anywhere but here. What are you talking about?" But anyway, so then over the years, I started reading more books and watching more like YouTube videos and stuff about dressing with skirts and stuff. And I always felt like modesty was the only thing to explain it to people, like why I wanted to do it. But I knew it wasn't just for modesty reasons, and I didn't know how else to explain it until one day a woman said, well, she's like, I don't really wear skirts for modesty, because she came from a family of 8, and all the girls were like older, but they all chose to wear skirts. And and she said, I do it more as like the difference between the genders, like male and female, like to really kind of show my femininity. And I was like, ooh, because I never heard that before. And I was like, I like that, you know? And then I remember I read a book called Dressing with Dignity, and I absolutely loved it. But everyone in my circle that I knew really didn't like it. And a lot of them were like, I don't really like that. You know, you shouldn't have to wear skirts. And I have always been the kind of person that's never been like, oh, you should have to. But I want to, you know? And so I tried to express that to people. And I spent a good amount of years just trying to like explain to people why I'm wanting to do it. Why. And then I came to a place in my walk where I said, I don't want to explain it anymore. I just want to like express, you know, what's in my heart and what I feel is pleasing and to the Lord. And also like, I don't want to get too much into it on this video because I know modesty is a really touchy subject for a lot of people. And I love modesty. It has been such a blessing in my life and it has helped me so much. I grew up in a beach town where immodesty was like the norm. And I remember growing up and always feeling like my body was constantly just in view for other people. And it wasn't a good feeling. I also remember whenever I would dress modestly and I would feel so happy, everyone would be like, what are you, a grandma? And I remember always thinking, I remember at a really young age, I was like 6 or whatever, and I was like, grandmas rock. They get to dress modestly. No one looks at them like a sexual object. They get to make cookies all day and everybody loves them. And I was like, I can't wait to be a grandma. I remember thinking that when I was in like 7th grade. I was like, they get to wear all those holiday vests and no one makes fun of them, you know? So like, I think grandmas are awesome. And I think dressing modestly is awesome. And I think like wearing holiday vests with little snowmen on it is awesome. So, do I also think people are awesome? I think all people are awesome. So that's why I'm really cautious about this subject because sometimes it can turn into like a good and bad issue, which it's not. And modesty isn't really a salvation issue per se. So I think there's a little bit more wiggle room in it. But so what I usually do is I usually wear like long skirts, ankle length, and I usually wear like a top. I love like embroidery and like little crochet accents and stuff on it. And then I always like to wear cardigans. If I'm not going to wear a cardigan, then I wear a shirt like this, kind of just like a t-shirt, a v-neck, with a, like a tank underneath it for modesty purposes. And that's what I usually wear. And people will be like, wow, I mean, don't you get hot? Not really. I mean, the early years, I remember thinking, wow, I'm kind of hot. But then I realized that like, I would rather be a little warm and be really comfortable in what I'm wearing than wear something really tight and short and skin tight and all that kind of stuff and like always be like pulling and tugging and trying to get everything like situated because I've always been a curvy girl. So it's always kind of been hard to wear things that are tight or short or anything like that because you're always tugging and always pulling for me, you know. But anyway, so I, now what I do is I try to keep a certain amount of skirts in my closet. I try not to go overboard, and which is actually, it's pretty easy to not go overboard because it's hard to find skirts. But when I do find skirts and they fit and they're like my style, I get them. I try to be kind of, you know, simple in my wardrobe and not have tons and tons of clothes, and I don't like to spend a lot of money on clothes. But I feel like when you find a good skirt, a beautiful skirt that's your length, that's your size, and it's a good price, snatch it up, girl. That's what I say. Anyway, so yeah, so that's kind of like my walk to wearing skirts. And the main book that I can think of that I read was Dressing with Dignity. I know I read a lot, or not read, I watched a lot of YouTube videos on apostolic, like women and like kind of like what they wear. And I love like a lot of like their YouTube channels and how they dress and stuff. And yeah, so anyway, if you have any questions, you can leave them. I don't know if you will. If you have any comments, please keep them kind. I love to have conversations with people, but I don't like debating or fighting. It's no fun, and I just don't like it. So, anyway, so I hope you guys have an absolutely wonderful day. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. And if you like videos like this, give it a thumbs up. And if you want more a detailed version, like maybe I could do another video with like Bible verses and more specifics on books that I've read and stuff like that, I'd be happy to do that on my journey to wearing skirts. But for now, I just wanted to do kind of like a quick kind of introduction video to my walk to finding skirts and modesty and all things feminine. So I hope you guys have a great day. God bless.